All right, it's time for some INDIO letters. Continuation, we're doing the steel sled for mounting these bad boys temporarily anyway. So I'll go over some of the parts I'm sending over for route, few aluminum, but this is mostly all on you guys, just sort of old school laying it out. So let's go over the lay of the land real quick. So we got some quick down and dirty 2x3 raceways and some assembly parts I think will help out, make it quick for you guys to sort of line stuff up. So let's just start with the material cut list. Try to keep it simple, and I did a lot of work to try to iron out all the wrinkles, so I got everything on whole numbers, so it's going to be awesome for you guys. So we'll start with the 4x4 11 gauge, aka 1/8 inch, whatever if they're being snooty. So you're going to bring in a 20 foot sticks. You're going to need 5 sticks there unless you want to bring another one, but I think it's fine. So you just got even number 44s, a couple of 91s, a couple of 140s. And then your 2x2, again, 1/8 inch, 11 gauge, whatever, 20 footers. You need 6 sticks there. We could always use a piece of 2x if you want to bring in 7 just in case, but you'll see everything's all even numbers. These are 40 inch on the long with just 45s. So maybe on the cold cut saw, you could set that up. And then we got some flat bar. I looked at, looks like they should have it in stock, but 1/4 inch by 8 flat bar, your 10 footer there. You're just gonna be chopping up some 8x8 squares. You might adjust this a little bit. We'll go over that. There's 2 of them that might be a little skinnier, but it's up to you guys. And then this, you want to bring in some 1/8x2. We could always use a stick or 2. You just need to make these little tabs. If there's little chunks laying around that'll work for this particular purpose, they're just going to be these little 2x3 tabs that are going to help line up the seams. If you go to the steel shop right next door, aka the pile of steel outside, or in the back if you have some already, fine. I don't know what our stock is, or if you just want to bring in a couple chunks, like I say, a little flat bar now and then doesn't hurt nothing. Even if you have to get like 3/8 on this, or I maybe even think an 1/8 inch will be okay, or 3/16 is fine. And even if they don't have 8 and you have to go 10, you're still going to cut these at 8, but it's okay if these are, 10 inch this way or whatever they have. But, and any drop we can use that. Sometimes we use that to, weight down signs, like pedestal signs with a base. We can weld that up on the inside there. So, none of that will go to waste if we have to get some thicker flat bar. It's handy to have for, like I say, for weighting down. Okay, so get everything chopped up. Let's go to getting these prepped, because like once these are chopped, then you're just going to make the base, the 4x. But there's going to be some work on these 68s to get all the holes. So let's jump to that next. So that's up over here. I'm going to make these jigs for you. So you're just going to 1, 2, 2, and these will be guide jigs for laying out your holes. So it is, it's pretty self-explanatory, but I just want to make sure we're clear. So I'm calling side A the side that faces out, that will mate to the back of the letter. So this is the just layout, in actual numbers here. So it's nice and even. It's 2 inches down. You got 10 inches to the power from there, and then you have 19 to the next power there. So that's the overall layout. So I went ahead and made this. So what you'll do is just bend this, and then you'll just hook that to the top, and then it works down from there. And then you can go ahead and do a dimple, do a 5/32, and just drill in, pretty good, but you don't even have to go through. Make a nice dimple, make a dimple where the power goes, and make a dimple for this mount. And then that's all you really need to do, because then you can transition either to, a big red drill on your desk or on your table, or take these over to the drill press and get set up for that. The power mark you make there, that's fine. Flip it over so you'll have a side A, and then do side B. Go ahead and mark that side as well for the through holes. And then there's nothing else you need to mark on side B. So I would just do that, go through, dimple. Basically, it's almost like making a punch. And then that way you're all set up. Then you can either choose to go drill all these holes first, fine, whatever. You can, we're using 1/2 inch hardware. So if you want to do 9/16 up to 5/8, whatever you guys decide, for accuracy. Speaking of accuracy, so really, we're just trying to match a CNC routed part here, these parts here, trying to get these holes lined up while we're welding these to, this base here. So just however big you want to make these holes. If you want to take them out to 5/8, we could wash her up. It's fine, whatever. So take those, get those drilled. You're going to drill through, obviously. Then you're going to, on side A, what you want to do is just using this as a guide. It doesn't have to be perfect. On the back of the letters, you're going to have the standard 7/8 hole for electrical connections, whatever. But since it's going to mate directly up against this, you can make yourself a nice big oval of plasma, just real quick. Make sure it's clean so it doesn't jack up the wires. But that way it's going to be easy feeding for you guys, and you can slide it down. So on side A, just don't worry about it. Make a big old hole. And then flip it around on the opposite side, which is going to be down here to allow this through. You're going to make a little mouse hole, a little notch for yourself. Just keep it below 2 inches. That way the Raceway can hide it. But you can go ahead and cut this out however you want. Also, that brings up, even when you go to weld this, if you want, leave a little beef for weld, but you might not even weld back there because, when you you'll tack this on, and then when you burn this, you'll weld the front, you'll weld the side, sure, but whether or not you need to weld the back, because you're going to have, this weld here is going to be this weld and this weld. So you're going to have a strut on the back. So, depending of whether you weld here or not means you can bring this forward or back. It's okay, if you want to weld back there, but depending on how much you mouse hole and chop out here, whatever, if you want to take it to the wall and then to the windows and to the wall, you can go ahead and cut that out, whatever you want to do. It's up to you guys. But just as long as it doesn't go above 2 inches, that way the Raceway can hide whatever you do. So get these all prepped. I don't think we need to cap them. Maybe we can discuss that with Johnny or whatever. Or if you want to bring in some plastic caps from McMaster Car, we might even have some 2-inch plastic caps that we can just hammer in there, when we're all done. But, the wire is obviously it's PLTC. It's outdoor rated, so it's not really that big a deal. So, and everything that counts will be in this Raceway here. So, anyway, so get these all. So the idea is to get everything prepped, get everything cleaned up, and then you can have your fun running fat beads. So, let's talk about the mounting plates. So get these sticks all cleaned up, get them prepped, ready to go to weld, and set those aside. Let's do these mounting plates. These are going to be plasma action. So you're going to take your 8x8s or whatever they end up being, depending on, which flat bar you get. What I was saying about the 2 of these, pick 2. And when you cut it at 8, maybe make it a little shy for yourself, because 2 of these has to fit in at 8 inches. So this is 8 inches between these 2 pieces of 4x. But depending on how accurate you weld it and or if it shrinks a little bit. So give yourself a little bit. So I'll give you a little heads up there. So give yourself a little bit of a break on 2 of these so you don't have to sit there and grind on them for, a while. So even if this is a little shy of 8, the other ones, it doesn't matter because they're completely open to all the sides here. So the ones in the green are, whatever. They could actually be a little off. So, but just do yourself a favor and get those ready to squeeze in. So take your 2. So I have quantity 6 of these and you have quantity 2 of these. Use these as templates. You're going to get these as 090. Just clamp it down to your piece of 8x. You're going to clearance 1 corner and 2 corners here. So that way, you'll have your nice weld there. And then for public safety, again, keep in mind, public safety, you got people barefoot, sandals, nobody takes drugs, everyone's very, reading the Bible and whatnot. But, so you're going to want to just, soapstone that corner and then take your plasma and round off that corner. So 6 of them are going to be rounded off for safety that will be exposed to the public. And then you're also going to, do a quick sand and make sure everything's really, grind off those edges, make sure it's nice and smooth. Then you're going to need a 3.5 inch. So this hole is 3.5 inches. You can soapstone on the inside, and then you're going to plasma cut out that hole. Now this is just for mounting. It doesn't need to be beautiful. If you want to jump down a rabbit hole of like measuring over half the kerf of the nozzle for the plasma and have Jose get you a template or whatever, and that way you can pierce and then bonk over to it and use it as your circle template, fine. If not, I think you're perfectly okay like soapstoning this and then just going to the outside and do the best you can and just get a hole. It's fine. Because again, speed, we want to be accurate. You have to be accurate to get these holes to be lined up, and we don't want them crooked, but speed is of the thing here. So whatever it takes to get it kind of knocked out, anyway, so get these plates prepped and get the holes in them and everything. Get them cleaned up, get them safetied off. Then get all of your 4x tubing ready to go. Get it cleaned up, deburred, degreased, whatever you got to do. Then you can start laying it out. So looking at this thing here, I also have PDFs that I sent where this is all broken out for you. So look at the different PDFs here. But just, going off of this right here. So everything's even numbers and everything's on center. So the left-hand side is sort of the shorty side. It'll be the I and the N. So you just work your way over from here. You got 3 inches on center. And like I said, I did it, you're welcome. It's all whole numbers. So 12 inches there, 25, 36, and then 15. So just double check everything. And then just make sure it's all 90 and just burn, baby, burn. Tack it together first. And then when you go to burn it, whether or not you need to go across the top or not, I'm not sure if it's enough to just burn verticals. If you want to flip it over, do the bottom side as well. If it's needed or not. These plates will go towards the bottom. So if you look here, like that green is the plate, right? So it's going to be to the bottom. So it's kind of up to you. Plus you're going to be looking at 8 inches. I don't know if you need to burn the entire thing. Again, time is money, welding and stuff. So even if you do a 2 inch and a 2 inch, and a 2 inch and like a 2 inch there, and then whether this thing needs to be flipped and welded along here on the bottom or not, it's kind of up to you guys. This thing's going to be plenty strong, but it's up to you, whether you weld on the top as well. So, and I don't think, whatever you do weld, even if you weld on the bottom and weld the bottom on here, this is going to be sitting on grass, I believe. So those welds don't need to be ground smooth or anything. So I think it's all going to be, pretty good. I would just suggest that if you do weld on the bottom here and then we want to keep this level, then once you put it back on the ground, just put it up on some like 3x aluminum blocks or whatever. That way it's not rocking on these welds on the bottom. So even if you weld the bottom of these plates. So anyway, that being said, make sure, I know you've already brought in a lot of stuff to work with the steel, but bring in some steel mix, do your 75-25, make sure you got plenty of that because those bottles sit around quite a bit. So whether we need to bring in some big boys or make sure you got plenty. Don't want to be running out of gas. So anyway, so get all that tacked together and then go ahead and burn it. Like I say, however you decide. Same thing over here, same layout. You got 140 inches here. Do your best to make sure everything's accurate. Now, just a word to the wise too. Let your inaccuracy be, you cut this at 140. Let's say it ends up 140 in the 16th. Don't let that 16th appear in the middle of the letters. So don't let this become 12 and a 16th because these two are actually tied to a letter. So let your inaccuracies be out here. So whether or not like you start at 14 on center, 34 is in between C and C letters. So make sure that's on point. And then if anything, this ends up being 3 and work your inaccuracy out to the end. Don't start 3 inches in here and then 14 here. And then somewhere, if this is 140 and a 16th, the inaccuracy is going to show up in the middle of the letter. And then that's tough. So, do your 14 over here and then make sure these are accurate and let your inaccuracy kind of fall out the side. That's okay. This is an inch right here. So if this is an inch and a 16th, that's how you want to roll that. So anyway, same thing here. Make sure that this isn't 12 and a 16th, keep it all as accurate as possible. So get all that laid out, burn it, burn the plates, burn all this. Again, these are the little tab guys. You want to put them on the inside, get your gun in there, tack them in there, burn them up real good. This is about an inch stick out. Keep it safe, keep it rounded. But you're going to want to do, let's see, here we go. Yeah, so you're going to want to do a top and a bottom plate for sure, because that's going to level, obviously, the up and down when they made it. You only need one on the outside, though. That way we don't have to fight two. Put one on the outside and one on the outside in the back. That will be enough to keep the left and the right. So again, you only need out here. So you need 3 per side. Do it on the shorty because this one's already long enough. And I would keep it 1/8 inch thickness because that way you can just sort of take a hammer and tap it, if it's sticking out a little bit. But that's all we need. I don't think we need to do any tapping and drilling and doing bolts and things like that. These big old tie downs are going to be enough to kind of hold this whole thing together. You just want to make sure that's easy to put together. So that's these tabs. Again, little scrap pieces, whatever it takes. You don't, Anyway, so that takes care of the base, takes care of all that. Burn it up real good. Safety off the edges. Get the sanding discs in. Make sure you got plenty of them, and kind of just make sure this is all safe for people with flip-flops and barefoot and whatever. We don't want anyone cutting toes. Just anything. When you weld steel, sometimes you have a little piece of wire that sticks. It might stick out like a needle. Be careful. Make sure any sharp welding slag. Just kind of go over everything and make sure it's safe. That's mainly on this big boy, all the 4x. So you get your base made, all set to go. Let's start laying out the verticals. So now you got your 68s all done, clean and everything. You've got these here 40s all set, pop your 40. So layout is, again, this is kind of for you guys. This is how I would do it. But if it's easier, whatever you're going to do. The layout is 12 inches back to the face of because the letters are 12 inches. So basically the front of this is going to be the front of the letter there. So that's, vertical view there. So you're just going to go 12 inches back. Whether or not you just take a combo square and just make a line, fine, whatever. But again, this is where the accuracy counts, because this is where these have to line up to match the holes. So I made this little guide, whether this makes it easy for you or you just toss this in the trash. So you're going to bend this up. This is going to straddle the 4x, top view here. And then what you want to do is just VHB a couple of pieces of 1/4 inch aluminum, just scrap from the bucket, just put a couple pieces of 1/4 inch. That way it'll float over. If you put a weld right here, it'll float over the weld. Where do I have a view of that? Right here. So these right here will be your 1/4 inch that you just VHB real quick. You'll have a weld probably right here. So this will sit over that. This flange ear will sit over the 4x. You can quick clamp that. And then what this does is it allows you to bonk the 2x right up against there. This is self-centering. So again, as accurate as you try to put these in, these need to be dead center to these. So it all starts with laying this out. So you get these accurate, then you do that dead center. So what that does is I have this notch so what somebody could do is you bonk this against the front of this. That makes this 12 inches right here. Then somebody can come in and bring in the 2x, notch it in, make sure it's level, make sure it's square. And then this allows you to tack it here, tack it on the back a little bit, and then you can move this out of the way and then tack it in the front. Then you can just move on to the next one, click it in, hold it. Somebody puts the metal up against there, you judge it, make sure it's good, tack, 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 and then move on. Again, if that works for you, maybe it's too clunky. I don't know. It's all just in my mind. It's kind of something I saw, I was doing peyote. But if not, just go ahead and use your combo square and just make sure it's centered and make sure they're not twisted or anything. And, it's up to you, whatever you want to do. So I just saw that. So then what you want to, so you're going to tack in your verticals, make sure they're nice and square, get them lined up, step back, and then just make sure that everything's lined up good. You sort of just eyeball it, make sure not one's like, sticking out at 80 degrees or anything. And then make sure they're tacked. Then what you're going to do is bring in these guys. And again, don't burn these until these are in. Tack everything first. Like I said, when you do the big base, tack everything, then burn the base. Then tack this in and then tack this in and make sure everything's square and you can, hammer it, bonk it. Then you can burn everything. So you'll bring in these struts. Now, the problem is, I make these 40 for you guys to saw, so the weirdness shows up when you measure. So, 28 and a quarter here, and then this is as close as you're going to get to 3/4 there. Just pick something, take your combo square, make a line, and then just make sure that's in. It doesn't have to be perfect, just as long as this doesn't affect this. This has to be 90. So get that in there. I would also suggest bringing in some 1.5" angle, or we already have some chunks. You've done this before. Temporary tack these. Once you get the verticals tacked here, then do your, measure, double check your squares, measure across, do your 3, 4, 5 Pythagorean triangles, make sure everything's right angles, and then just temporarily tack a piece across. That way you can keep these square. Then you tack this piece in, double check again, everything's sexy. Then you can burn, burn this, burn this, burn it, burn it, burn it, and then you can chop off your temp pieces. So it's all about keeping these blue verticals, the 68s. That's what counts, obviously. So everything else, just get it sexy. So now you're at that point, burn everything, make sure that everything's safe, nothing's going to cut anybody, burn it, burn it. Now you're good to go. Now let's talk about the Raceway. So, right, because we're all done here. This is all good. You guys have done that. Okay, so now the Raceway, very simple. You've got yourself a bottom piece here. Don't even worry about closing the ends. And then you're just going to bend that up. Now, again, this comes back to whether or not you choose to weld right here. Now, if there's a weld, just put this as close as you can. There's no defined, measurement. This just needs to be as close as we can to minimize exposure of wire. That's all. But, the wire is weatherproof. It's just keeping people away from it. So, and that's where your mouse hole is. So you're going to bend up the inside parts and use the inside parts to lay out. So take your right side, and that goes over here, and take your left side. And all you're going to do is take the edge of the left side inside piece, and you can see where the lid sticks out. You're just going to line it up with the edge of the 4x, just down and dirty. And then again, whatever clearance you need, you decide what you need to do. And then from there, you can just pick your measurement, go from here, and just pick a measurement to like the face of the inside there. And then that will be the same over here. And then go ahead and you're just going to self-tap, pre-drill and self-tap those bad boys right down, just nice and down and dirty. And then same thing here. You're going to line up the inside piece, forget the lid, and then pick that same measurement from there to there, and then just nail it down all the way across. Now, the idea is these are going to be free floating because I don't want these to fight. If they're off a 16th or they don't quite match up, that's fine. This is just to mostly hide the wires, keep people from messing. But, if these are a little bit off or whatever, I'm not worried about these Raceways matching up and bolting them together. So they're just going to be open-ended over here. So that's it. But we just want to make sure they meet up okay. That's why you just want to, whatever this distance from there to there is the same, and just kind of work it. But it's kind of down and dirty. You'll have your mouse holes for your wire to go in, and then you just slide the lid. You don't even need to tack the lid or anything. You just bend it up 1, 2, 2, and then these holes will match up with the mouse holes here, and just that easy. Now, when it comes to doing the power supply, like we talked about in the previous videos, these are temporarily going to be external power supply. I was thinking we can stuff a keystone right in here. I'd like the keystone to be in this area, and I got a couple of spots for ground and bonding. So you can see where it's centrally located, even though the Raceway starts here. The Raceway does not go all the way. I'm not smoking crack there. It just goes to there to get that power. So, but this is more, even though it doesn't look like it's centered, it's more centered in the sign, because I was worried about the 15-foot runs. We're already pushing it to get over here to this eye. So keep it here. If for some reason you need to do another keystone, I have a spot here. I think this will be enough to run it. And then that brings in power. So on the bottom, this is for install, Johnny, if you're listening. So you got all these holes will be for ventilation. This is all along the bottom facing. But each of these is a 7/8. So potentially any of these holes could be you throw a fitting on there for 1/2 inch anyway. If they're going to come at you with like 3/4 inch conduit or something, then you'll have to open that up to 1 1/8 or whatever. But so this is all for ventilation, downward facing, but any of these will take a fitting. And then we could, I don't know if they're doing flex or some sort of cord or what they're doing to get you power. But the keystone will be in the center here. But pick a hole. But for whatever reason, if you think we need to run it over here, then that's fine. But then this is pushing past our 15-foot maximum run for 18 gauge. So anyway, so that's the power there. Put the Raceway, cover it up, down and dirty. It's all good. So anyway, so I think that should be it. Like I say, it's going to be how you guys actually can make it work in the shop and whatnot. But so Yeah. So anyway, so look out for. I broke out all these in various PDFs, so I'm emailing all of these to you. But you're going to get your normal major big reference PDF. So, but yeah, hit me up with any questions. I think you guys got it. It's just gonna be a lot of steel, a lot of weld pouring on Instagram. Let's see those beads.